20 men will go to prison. That's what Thomas Massie just confirmed when he threatened to read the Epstein client list live on the House floor. What you're about to see is the moment Bondi and Patel realized their nominations could crumble over names that have been buried in FBI files for years. This isn't about politics, it's about protecting victims versus protecting powerful predators.
His provisions that he wants would protect, that have never been investigated, that there are credible allegations of sexual abuse and rape against. And so the Senate would be fools to start trying to change this bill in the way that Speaker Johnson wants it changed.
And why do you think the Speaker changed his vote ultimately, or changed his tune, I should say, and then voted accordingly?
Two reasons, but they kind of go back to the same reason. Number one, Trump told him to do it, and this Speaker of the House is always going to do whatever President Trump wants. Number two, they both, I think, came to the conclusion that Trump was asking my colleagues to walk a plank that was going to cost them the majority, and then that it would be no good for the president or our speaker in that instance. So I think it was a political calculation.
Can you just explain, though, I mean, the whiplash that we were seeing here from going from this bill looking like it had no chance to now passing overwhelmingly and potentially being law by the end of the night?
Have I done an interview with you when you've said, surely you know this must be dead on arrival in the Senate or something? But no, it has gone from presumably dead on arrival, presumably getting vetoed, to now getting fast-tracked and having a nearly unanimous majority here in the House. And I think it's because three brave women, Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, couldn't be flipped. I think all along they were hoping they could flip those women into taking their names off of the petition, and they never could.
And it's a concern about the political fallout for the GOP, which caused the Speaker to change his mind, you think?
Absolutely. The president was pitting the GOP conference against our own base. Like 80% of Republicans wanted these files released, and the other 20% just didn't care. There was literally nobody who said not to release these files. And it was also a campaign promise. I think the calculation ultimately for the Speaker and the President was a political calculation. They realized this could jeopardize the majority if they took the side, literally the side of pedophiles and rapists.
And what if they don't release the files now?
You know,
because they could say it's an investigation that's ongoing.
Today they decided to pull the Band-Aid off. I hope they continue that effort in the Senate and in the White House. We will know when the Epstein files are released, because men will go to prison. And until that happens, the justice hasn't been served. I know through the victims' lawyers, there are at least 20 credible accusations of rape and sex trafficking that have been relayed to the FBI, and they've done nothing about it, and it resides in their 302 files. The White House has announced a bunch of partisan investigations. I think that's a bad idea. This was never a partisan issue, and I think it's another bad idea if, I'm not sure their motivations, but if that was to create silos of information that can't be released based on these investigations. But even if they start 10 investigations, there's no way they're going to cover up the crimes that have been perpetrated on 1,000 victims. So names of rich and powerful men will get released when the president signs this bill. And they are criminally liable at the DOJ and FBI if they don't release these files. This is a law. It's a steep effort, right? Not just to do a discharge petition and get it passed through the House, but to get the Senate to pass it and get the White House to sign it. We're not there yet, but when we get there, this is not a subpoena. This is a law.
And so you are confident that these documents will ultimately come out, even if the president tries to fight this?
Yes, I'm confident. And that we sort of, we know when they're out because we know what some of these lists, who some of the men are. I don't have the names in my head right now. The ultimate thing that we could do is read the names on the floor of the House, and that could happen, but what needs to happen is the FBI needs to release these names.
Is that something you might do if he resists this, if the DOJ releases this? Could you go to the floor and read these names?
We absolutely would do that. Marjorie would do that. I would do that. There are Democrats who would do that, and but that's not the right path forward. That's the last effort if we hit all of the walls. But so far, we're making it through the walls and over the walls, and we're getting this done.
And how much time are you willing to give the president and the administration to release these documents when this becomes law?
I've never set a timeline. The victims have waited a very long time to get justice, and it's really up to them.
Okay, all right, I understand. Thank you. All right.
What Thomas Massie just accomplished goes far beyond political theater. He forced a moment of institutional reckoning that exposes how power protects itself when accountability comes knocking. The discharge petition that passed the House wasn't just about releasing files, it was about testing whether our system will choose transparency over elite protection when the stakes are highest. The mechanics matter here. A discharge petition requires 218 signatures to bypass leadership and force a floor vote. That Massie, Boebert, Mace, and Green held firm against intense pressure tells you something crucial about the political math. As Massie noted, 80% of Republicans wanted these files released, with the other 20% simply indifferent. There was literally no constituency for keeping them secret, except the people whose names might be in them. Speaker Johnson's reversal reveals the deeper game. Initially opposing the release, he flipped when it became clear that protecting potential predators would cost the GOP their majority. This wasn't a principled stand. It was damage control. When your choice is between covering for sexual predators or maintaining political power, the calculation becomes brutally simple. The FBI's role is particularly troubling. According to victim lawyers, at least 20 credible accusations of rape and sex trafficking sit in FBI 302 files, uninvestigated. These aren't rumors or conspiracy theories. They're formal allegations gathering dust while the accused remain free. When law enforcement becomes a filing cabinet for inconvenient truths, it's no longer law enforcement. Consider what this means practically. Every day these files remain buried. Potential predators walk free with the implicit protection of federal law enforcement. Victims who risked everything to come forward watch their attackers live normal lives while their testimonies collect dust in government databases. This isn't bureaucratic inefficiency, it's institutional betrayal. The same FBI that can mobilize massive resources for political investigations somehow lacks capacity to pursue credible sexual assault allegations against wealthy men. Massie's threat to read names on the House floor if the DOJ resists compliance adds unprecedented stakes. Unlike subpoenas that can be fought in court, this will be law once signed. The speech or debate clause protects congressional floor statements, meaning if Massie chooses that nuclear option, no court can stop him. The broader implications cascade through our justice system. When powerful men can commit serious crimes with impunity simply because their victims lack political protection, we've inverted the entire premise of equal justice. The 1,000 victims Massie referenced aren't abstractions. They're people whose trauma was deemed less important than protecting elite reputations. For Bondi and Patel specifically, this creates an impossible political trap. As potential Attorney General and FBI Director, they'll be asked directly about their commitment to pursuing these cases. Any hesitation or evasion will be read as complicity in a cover-up. Any promise of aggressive prosecution could alienate the very networks that enabled their nominations. They're caught between doing their constitutional duty and protecting the power structure that elevated them. This moment tests whether institutions can self-correct when confronted with their own failures. The FBI's credibility, already strained by political weaponization accusations, faces complete collapse if they're seen protecting predators while pursuing political opponents. DOJ's legitimacy hangs on whether they'll treat elite crimes with the same vigor they apply to everyone else. The political calculation that drove Johnson's flip should concern everyone regardless of party. If releasing evidence of serious crimes becomes a partisan political decision rather than a moral imperative, we've fundamentally broken the system. Justice can't depend on electoral math. The real test comes next. Will these files actually lead to prosecutions, or will they disappear into investigative limbo? Will powerful men finally face consequences? Or will this become another exercise in performative transparency that changes nothing? Massie's confidence suggests he knows something that makes him believe justice is finally coming. For the sake of every victim who's waited years for accountability, he better be right. Democracy survives when citizens demand that power be used to protect the vulnerable, not shield the powerful from consequences.